She had always loved performing. From the first time she sang in front of her classmates, she felt a spark that no one could take away. Her voice was soft but clear, and she could feel the music move through her in a way that made her feel alive. Every day after school, she would sit in her small room, practicing the songs she loved, humming quietly at first and then letting her voice grow stronger. She spent hours working on her pitch, her breathing, and her tone. She even recorded herself on her old phone to hear her mistakes and try again. While others her age were busy with friends, parties, or games, she chose her music. Sometimes she would miss out on birthdays or social events, but it never felt like a sacrifice to her. It was something she needed. Despite her dedication, not everyone believed in her. At school, a few classmates would whisper when she sang in the hallways, saying she would never be good enough to perform on a real stage. Some teachers tried to encourage her, but a few others told her she should focus on more practical things like studying or joining clubs that could help with college. Even her family, though supportive in small ways, sometimes questioned her choices. They worried that her dreams were too big and that people would laugh at her. She would hear comments like, "Maybe you should try something else," or "People won't take you seriously if you keep chasing this." Each comment hurt, but she never let it stop her completely. She knew that what she felt when she sang was worth more than anyone's doubt. One day, the school announced a talent show. Her heart raced when she heard about it. This could be her chance to show everyone what she could do. She signed up immediately, feeling both excitement and fear. As she prepared, she could already hear the voices in her head. The critics, the classmates who had laughed before. But she tried to focus only on her music. She practiced every day after classes, sometimes late into the night, perfecting every note and every word. She imagined the stage in her mind, the bright lights, the microphone in her hand, the eyes of the audience on her. She wanted to make every second count. Her friends noticed how serious she had become. Some tried to help by giving tips, but most just watched quietly, unsure what to expect. She didn't mind. The journey was personal, and she wanted to feel ready before she showed anyone. Yet the closer the talent show came, the more the whispers grew. A few classmates said she was wasting her time. "You're never going to win," they said. "People like you don't get noticed in a school full of talent." It stung more than she wanted to admit. At times, she questioned herself. Could she really do this? Was her singing truly good enough? Her mother noticed the change in her mood one evening. She came into the room where her daughter was sitting at the desk, writing down lyrics and notes. "You've been practicing so much," she said gently. "Are you feeling okay?" The young woman looked up, her eyes a little red from trying to hold back tears. "Some people don't think I can do it," she admitted. "They think I'll fail, or that I'm not good enough." Her mother sat down beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "People will always have opinions," she said. "What matters is that you believe in yourself. You've worked so hard, and you love what you do. That counts for more than anyone's doubt." Her words felt like a small shield against the fear and discouragement. She took a deep breath and nodded, feeling a little stronger. As the talent show approached, the pressure grew. She started to feel nervous, imagining the audience staring at her, waiting for her to start, and imagining the possibility of mistakes. What if she forgot the words? What if her voice cracked? What if everyone laughed? She stayed up many nights worrying, but every morning she returned to her music. She tried to turn fear into energy, to let it drive her rather than stop her. She practiced in front of the mirror, imagining the crowd applauding, imagining the joy she would feel when she finished. On the day of the talent show, the school auditorium was buzzing with excitement. Students filled the seats, parents lined the back rows, and the stage lights cast a warm glow over the room. Backstage, she waited with a mix of nerves and determination. The other performers were talented too, and some of them looked confident and polished. She felt small for a moment, wondering if she really belonged here. But then she remembered all the hours she had spent practicing, the sacrifices she had made, and the love she had for her craft. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to share a part of herself. When her name was called, her heart pounded. She walked to the stage, each step heavy with anticipation. The bright lights hit her, and for a second, she felt frozen. Then she took a deep breath and started to sing. At first, her voice was a little shaky, but she focused on the music, on every note and every word. Slowly, confidence replaced fear. She moved with the song, letting the emotion guide her, letting the music flow through her. The audience was silent, listening closely, and she could feel their attention. For the first time, she realized that she had captured it, the moment where everything else disappeared, and it was just her and the song. When she finished, there was a moment of silence, and then the room erupted into applause. She couldn't believe it. People were cheering, clapping, and smiling. Even some of the classmates who had doubted her looked surprised, almost embarrassed. She smiled, feeling a rush of happiness and relief. All the hard work, all the doubts, and all the whispers of criticism faded into the background. She had proven to herself that she could do this. She had faced the fear, the judgment, and the pressure, and she had come out shining. Backstage, her friends rushed to congratulate her, hugging her and telling her how amazing she had been. Her mother's eyes were full of pride, and even a few teachers came over to praise her performance. She felt a warmth that she had never felt before, a mix of accomplishment and joy. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. She remembered the doubts, the whispers, and the criticism, and she realized that those things didn't define her. Her dedication, her love for music, and her courage to keep going despite everything. That was what mattered. It was only the beginning. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, more moments of doubt, and more people who might criticize too quickly. But now she had proof, a reminder that she was capable of more than anyone could see at first glance. She had found her voice, not just in music but in life. And she knew that no matter what happened next, she could face it with the same courage that had carried her through the talent show. From that day on, she carried a quiet confidence. She still practiced, still dreamed, and still faced criticism, but it no longer held power over her. She had learned that sometimes people judge too quickly, without seeing the effort, the passion, and the heart behind what someone does. And she knew that one day, there would be more moments, bigger stages, larger audiences, and more opportunities, to prove not just to others, but to herself, that she was capable of extraordinary things. After her first taste of success, she felt a spark that would not go out. The applause from the talent show had given her a sense of hope, but it also made her realize that she had a long way to go. She wanted to improve, to grow, to show the world that this was not a one-time moment. She began spending even more time practicing, refining her technique, learning new songs, and exploring different styles of music. Her room became her studio, filled with notebooks of lyrics, sheets of music, and a small speaker that she used to play recordings of herself and others. Despite her love for music, the whispers of doubt still lingered. Some classmates still teased her, saying that she was only lucky at the talent show. They told her that her voice was ordinary, that she would never make it in a real performance outside of school. Even a few teachers seemed skeptical, asking why she was so focused on music instead of academics. The criticism weighed on her, and there were days when she questioned whether her dream was realistic. But she reminded herself that growth came from persistence, not from avoiding obstacles. She kept pushing forward, sometimes practicing until her throat ached and her fingers grew sore from turning pages of music. She found herself seeking guidance from a retired musician who lived nearby. He had once performed on big stages and understood the struggles of someone trying to follow their passion. When she nervously knocked on his door and asked for advice, he welcomed her warmly. He listened to her sing, watched her practice, and gave her small tips on breathing, posture, and how to convey emotion through her voice. More than the technical guidance, he taught her something deeper, the importance of believing in herself when no one else did. He would say, "Your heart knows the music better than anyone. Trust it, and let it speak through you." Those words became a mantra for her, especially on days when criticism felt overwhelming. Her schedule became busier than ever. She balanced schoolwork, practice, and her part-time job at a local cafe. The job was not glamorous, but it taught her discipline and resilience. She served customers with a smile even when she was tired from practicing, learning to stay composed under pressure. Sometimes, she would hum quietly while taking orders, letting herself slip into music even in the middle of daily chores. Her coworkers noticed her dedication and often commented on her passion, which gave her small boosts of encouragement. One day, the school announced an intercity performance competition. It was an event where talented students from different schools would compete in front of a much larger audience and a panel of experienced judges. The announcement ignited both excitement and fear in her. This was a bigger stage with more people watching, more pressure, and more opportunities to fail. She hesitated at first, feeling the weight of past criticisms and imagining the voices that would doubt her once again. But then she remembered the feeling of the applause from the talent show. She remembered the joy, the pride, and the validation she had felt. That was enough to convince her to try. Preparation for the competition was intense. She started selecting songs that would showcase her range and emotion. She practiced each note meticulously, recording herself multiple times and analyzing every mistake. There were mornings when she woke up with a sore throat and evenings when exhaustion made her want to give up. Each time, she reminded herself why she was doing this. Music was not just a hobby. It was a part of her identity. She could not let fear or doubt stop her. Slowly, she began to see small improvements. Her voice became stronger, her timing more precise, and her emotional expression more natural. Her mentor continued to support her. He introduced her to breathing exercises, helped her understand how to connect with an audience, and even taught her how to handle nerves before a performance. He reminded her that mistakes were part of growth and that even great performers stumbled sometimes. A perfect performance isn't about never failing, he said. It's about how you rise when you face a challenge. Those words sank deep into her mind. She practiced handling mistakes during her rehearsals, learning to stay calm and continue even when something went wrong. As the day of the competition approached, her nerves grew. She saw the names of other participants and felt intimidated by their experience and talent. Some had performed on stages bigger than she had ever imagined, and their confidence seemed unshakable. She doubted whether she could stand beside them, but each time fear threatened to take over, she remembered her mentor's words and the countless hours she had spent preparing. She reminded herself that preparation, passion, and belief in herself were her strengths. The night before the competition, she barely slept. Her mind replayed potential scenarios, forgetting lyrics, cracking notes, or failing to connect with the audience. Yet she also thought about what she had learned, the improvements she had made, and the music that flowed through her heart. She wrote in her notebook, jotting down reminders to breathe, stay present, and enjoy the experience. By the time dawn broke, she was exhausted but ready. On the morning of the competition, she traveled with her mother and a few friends who had become her support system. The city venue was much larger than her school auditorium, with rows of seats stretching far back and bright stage lights that made her heart race. Backstage, she could hear the murmurs of the crowd and the warm-ups of other performers. She felt a mix of excitement and fear, but she focused on calming herself. She closed her eyes, remembered her practice, and felt the music inside her. This was her moment to show how far she had come. Her name was called, and she walked toward the stage. The lights were blinding at first, and she could feel the weight of expectation from the judges, the audience, and even herself. But then she took a deep breath and began to sing. At first, her voice trembled slightly, but she quickly found her rhythm. She let the song carry her, letting her emotions shine through each note. Every gesture, every expression, every breath was guided by the love she had for music. The audience began to lean forward, captivated by the honesty and depth of her performance. As she sang, she noticed that even some of the critics, the classmates and teachers who had doubted her, were watching with wide eyes, surprised by the talent and emotion they had underestimated. She focused on the music, not on their reactions, letting herself be immersed in the moment. When the final note echoed through the hall, there was a silence that seemed to stretch for a heartbeat, and then the audience erupted into applause. The sound was thunderous, more powerful than she had imagined. She felt a wave of relief and joy, knowing that she had faced her fears and delivered a performance that truly represented her. Backstage, she was greeted with congratulations, hugs, and smiles. Her mentor nodded proudly, and her mother held her tightly, whispering that she had done well. Even some of the students who had doubted her before approached, admitting that they had been wrong to judge so quickly. She felt proud, but more importantly, she felt stronger. The competition had tested her, challenged her, and ultimately reminded her of her own resilience. In the days that followed, she reflected on the journey. She realized that the struggle, the criticism, and the hard work were all part of the process. Each obstacle had pushed her to become better, to practice more, and to believe in herself. She knew that there would be more challenges ahead, more competitions, and more critics. But she also knew that with preparation, persistence, and passion, she could face them all. She continued practicing, exploring new music, and pushing herself further than ever before. The competition had been a stepping stone, a moment that proved to herself that she could rise above doubt. And while she still faced skepticism and criticism from others, it no longer had the power to shake her. She had learned that belief in oneself, paired with hard work, could turn even the harshest judgment into a source of motivation. With each passing day, she felt herself growing, not just as a performer, but as a person. The journey was far from over, but she had found her inner strength. She had learned that criticism could be a challenge, not a roadblock, and that every step forward was proof of her ability. And as she looked ahead to future performances, she felt a quiet confidence, ready to face the next stage, the next audience, and the next opportunity to show what she was truly capable of. The morning of the intercity performance arrived with a crisp, clear sky and a sense of electricity in the air. She woke up early, her heart pounding with anticipation. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, a flutter that seemed to resonate in every part of her body. This was more than a school event. It was a stage that could introduce her to a much larger audience, including judges who had years of experience and expectations far beyond anything she had faced before. She dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made her feel confident yet comfortable. She had spent days rehearsing her movements and her posture in front of the mirror, ensuring that every gesture would complement her singing. She even practiced walking onto the stage smoothly, imagining the bright lights and the eyes of the audience upon her. Each step, each breath was carefully measured, a combination of nerves and meticulous preparation. Her mother drove her to the venue, a large theater with hundreds of seats, gleaming floors, and a stage that seemed much bigger than the small school auditorium she was used to. Backstage, the atmosphere buzzed with performers adjusting their clothes, tuning instruments, and running through warm-ups. Some were seasoned performers who seemed calm and confident, while others, like her, wore faces lined with nervous anticipation. She tried to blend in, but her heart kept racing. She met briefly with her mentor, who offered a reassuring smile and a few last-minute pointers. "Remember, it's not about impressing anyone," he said. "It's about letting the music come from you. If your heart is in it, the audience will feel it." She nodded, absorbing his words, and felt a flicker of calm in the midst of her storm of nerves. When her name was called, she walked toward the stage, her steps steady despite the pounding of her heart. The bright lights hit her directly, momentarily blinding her, and she saw the crowd stretching out in front of her, rows of people who were all waiting to see her perform. A hush fell over the audience as she approached the microphone, and she felt a brief pang of doubt, the whisper of fear that maybe she wasn't ready for this. But she took a deep breath, remembered her countless hours of practice, and let herself focus on the music. She started to sing, her voice trembling slightly at first, but quickly finding strength as she immersed herself in the song. Each note was deliberate, each phrase carefully controlled yet filled with emotion. She let the music carry her, letting herself move naturally with the rhythm, allowing her expression to reflect the story of the song. The audience watched, captivated, and she could feel a connection forming. It was as if the entire room was breathing with her, feeling her emotions, and following every movement of her voice. As the song progressed, she noticed reactions from the audience shifting. At first, there were polite claps and curious glances, but slowly, faces began to brighten, smiles appeared, and eyes widened in admiration. She saw some of the critics, classmates, and even a few teachers sitting up straighter, surprised by the depth and control in her performance. She didn't let it distract her, but a quiet satisfaction bloomed inside her. She was proving herself not just to others but to herself. The most difficult part was the middle of the song, where a high note approached, a note that had challenged her in practice more than any other. She felt the tension build in her chest, her throat tightening as she neared it. Memories of past mistakes, of doubts and whispers, flashed in her mind. But she took another deep breath, recalled her mentor's advice, and let the note flow. It soared through the theater, clear and strong, and the audience responded instantly. A collective intake of breath followed by gentle applause. Relief and joy surged through her, confirming that her preparation and perseverance were paying off. She continued to sing, pouring emotion into each word, each melody. She allowed herself to smile slightly as she hit her marks perfectly, feeling the music pulse through her. Every movement, every breath, every note was infused with her passion. By the final verse, she was fully in the moment, losing herself in the performance. She no longer felt nervous. She felt alive, empowered, and connected to the audience in a way she had never experienced before. As the last note lingered in the theater, a moment of silence followed, stretching like a held breath. Then the audience erupted into applause, louder and more enthusiastic than anything she had heard before. Standing ovations rippled through the seats, and she felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She had done it. She had faced her fears, performed under intense pressure, and delivered a performance that spoke directly from her heart. Backstage, her mentor met her with a proud smile, clapping her gently on the shoulder. Her mother rushed forward, enveloping her in a hug that conveyed relief, pride, and overwhelming happiness. Friends and even some strangers approached, praising her performance, asking how she had managed to stay so composed and emotional at the same time. She felt a warmth she had never known, a mixture of achievement, joy, and the validation of her efforts. Even the judges, who had been silent throughout her performance, nodded in approval, jotting down notes with expressions of respect. She didn't yet know the results, but in that moment, the applause and the reactions of the audience were reward enough. She realized that the performance itself, the act of sharing her music honestly and passionately, had proven more than any trophy could. As the theater emptied, she lingered backstage, replaying the moments in her mind. She thought about the weeks of preparation, the long hours of practice, the moments of doubt, and the voices of those who had criticized her. Each obstacle had seemed insurmountable at the time, but facing them had strengthened her. She had learned resilience, patience, and the importance of trusting her own abilities. In the following days, the performance became a turning point in her life. Word spread quickly about her talent, and she received invitations to perform at other events and local gatherings. Even some of the classmates who had mocked her began to show respect, complimenting her on her dedication and skill. It was a shift she had never expected, and yet it was deeply satisfying. She understood now that people's opinions were often limited by what they could see, and that true ability was revealed only through perseverance and courage. She continued to practice diligently, not resting on the laurels of one successful performance. Every song she learned, every note she practiced, was part of a journey that extended far beyond the intercity competition. She sought new challenges, aiming to improve continuously and to explore her full potential. The experience had given her confidence, yes, but also a humility that reminded her there was always more to learn. Reflecting on the performance, she realized something important. Success wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving to herself that she could rise above fear and doubt. It was about embracing her passion, dedicating herself fully, and trusting that her hard work would translate into moments that mattered. She had learned that the most powerful performances came not from perfection, but from authenticity and courage. Her mentor reminded her that every performer faced moments of intense pressure and judgment. "What you did today," he said, "was more than a performance. It was a statement. Never forget the strength you have inside." Those words lingered with her, reinforcing the belief that her journey was ongoing, and that each new stage was an opportunity to grow, to share, and to shine. With each passing day, she carried the memory of that performance as a touchstone. Whenever doubt crept in or criticism arose, she remembered the feeling of her voice filling the theater, the audience captivated, and the applause that followed. That memory became a source of strength, reminding her that talent and dedication, when paired with courage, could overcome any obstacle. And as she looked forward to future performances, she felt ready, not just for the stage, but for the life she was building, one note at a time. The applause from her intercity performance echoed in her mind for days. She could still feel the vibrations of the claps and cheers in her chest, a reminder that she had achieved something remarkable. But the true impact came in the moments that followed, when people began to see her differently. Those who had doubted her, who had whispered and laughed, now looked on with surprise and newfound respect. Their reactions were subtle at first, a quiet compliment, a nod of acknowledgement, but they were unmistakable. It was as if the world was starting to recognize what she had known all along, that her talent was real and her dedication unwavering. Her phone began to buzz with messages. Friends who had not been part of her immediate circle reached out to congratulate her, expressing amazement at her performance. Teachers who had once questioned her focus and commitment now offered words of encouragement, telling her to continue pursuing her passion. Even strangers who had attended the competition shared their thoughts, some saying that they had never seen someone so young perform with such emotion and control. Each message, each comment, was a small affirmation that her efforts had not gone unnoticed. One afternoon, while she was practicing a new song in her room, a knock came at the door. It was a student she had never spoken much to, someone who had always seemed confident and slightly intimidating. "Hey," the student said, shifting nervously. "I just wanted to say that your performance was amazing. I didn't think you'd be able to do that, but you proved me wrong. You really have talent." She felt a mix of surprise and warmth at the words. It was one thing to hear praise from friends and family, but to receive it from someone who had doubted her made the recognition feel even more significant. The community around her began to change subtly. At school, she noticed that her classmates treated her with more respect, some even asking for advice on singing and performance. She was invited to perform at local events and small gatherings, and each time, she felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. She realized that her performance had opened doors, not just for recognition, but for opportunities to inspire others, to share her passion with a wider audience. Her mentor continued to guide her through this new phase. He emphasized the importance of humility and continued growth. "Remember," he said one afternoon, "people will praise you and people will doubt you again. Your job is to stay true to your craft, to keep learning, and to let your work speak for itself." She took his words to heart, understanding that success was not just about one performance, but about the continuous journey of improvement and expression. One evening, she was invited to perform at a small charity event in the city. The audience was diverse, including local dignitaries, business owners, and families. She felt nervous, knowing that this was different from competitions with judges. This was about connecting with people, sharing music that could touch hearts rather than earn scores. As she stepped onto the stage, she remembered all the practice, all the setbacks, and all the moments of self-doubt. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything that had brought her to this point. The performance began, and she allowed herself to get lost in the music. Her voice flowed smoothly, carrying emotion and sincerity. She noticed the audience reacting with smiles, nods, and tears in some eyes. The experience was profoundly moving, as she realized that her music had the power to reach people on an emotional level. After the performance, several audience members came forward to express how much the music had touched them. She felt a sense of fulfillment that was deeper than applause or recognition. It was the connection she had created with others. Even her family began to see the transformation in her. Her parents had always supported her in practical ways, but now they witnessed the tangible results of her dedication. They could see her confidence growing, her ability to handle pressure, and the joy she found in performing. It was a proud moment for them, knowing that their encouragement, even in small ways, had contributed to her journey. In school, her success began to influence others. Younger students, inspired by her perseverance, started showing more interest in music and performance. Teachers began encouraging students to pursue their passions more seriously, using her story as an example of what dedication and hard work could achieve. She felt a sense of responsibility, realizing that her journey could motivate others to chase their dreams, even in the face of doubt and criticism. There were still moments of self-reflection, of course. She knew that not everyone would recognize her talent or support her journey. Some classmates remained skeptical, and some adults continued to question the practicality of her ambitions. But she had learned to filter out the noise, to focus on her growth, and to measure success by her own standards rather than by the opinions of others. Each performance, each practice session, became a personal milestone, a step forward in her lifelong pursuit of music. One day, she received an unexpected invitation to perform at a regional music showcase. It was an event that drew attention from local media and established musicians. The invitation was both thrilling and intimidating. She knew that this would be a stage unlike any she had performed on before. She would face scrutiny from critics, peers, and professionals who had high expectations. Yet, she also saw it as an opportunity to continue proving to herself what she was capable of, and to build on the momentum she had created. Her preparation for the showcase was meticulous. She selected songs that not only highlighted her technical abilities, but also conveyed her emotional depth. She rehearsed relentlessly, paying attention to every detail: the timing, the expression, the connection with the audience. Her mentor helped her refine her technique, ensuring that she would be ready for any challenges that might arise. Each day, her confidence grew, but so did her awareness of the responsibility that came with performing on a larger stage. As the day of the showcase arrived, she felt a familiar mixture of excitement and nerves. She took a deep breath, remembering all the moments that had led her here: the criticism, the setbacks, the late-night practices, and the small victories along the way. She understood that this performance was more than just a chance to shine. It was a testament to her perseverance and her ability to rise above doubt. When her turn came, she stepped onto the stage with poise and grace. The lights were bright, and the audience was vast, but she focused on the music and the story she wanted to tell. As she sang, she felt the energy of the room responding to her, the connection between performer and audience becoming almost tangible. Her voice carried strength, emotion, and authenticity, capturing the attention of everyone present. By the end of the performance, the applause was thunderous, and she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The showcase solidified her reputation as a talented and dedicated performer. Media coverage highlighted her journey, emphasizing her determination in the face of doubt. She received invitations to perform at other events, and her story began to inspire others who faced criticism and skepticism in their own pursuits. She realized that her journey was no longer just about proving others wrong. It was about using her talent and her story to motivate and encourage others to follow their passions. Through all of this, she remained grounded. She continued to practice, to learn, and to grow as a performer. She understood that one performance, no matter how successful, was only part of a larger journey. The true measure of her success lay in her dedication, her perseverance, and her ability to remain authentic to herself. She embraced each opportunity with gratitude and approached each challenge with determination. The journey had changed her in profound ways. She had learned that criticism, while sometimes painful, could be a catalyst for growth. She had discovered the strength that comes from dedication and preparation. And she had experienced the joy and fulfillment that comes from sharing one's passion with others. Each step, each performance, each moment of doubt overcome had contributed to her growth as a performer and as a person. In the end, she understood that her journey was about more than recognition or applause. It was about the courage to follow her passion, the resilience to rise above doubt, and the ability to inspire others through her dedication and talent. She had proven to herself that she was capable of extraordinary things, and she carried that belief with her as she continued to pursue her dreams. The critics who had once doubted her had been silenced not by confrontation, but by the undeniable truth of her talent and the authenticity of her performance. And she knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had the strength and determination to face them head-on. After the regional showcase, she felt a calm clarity that had been missing before. The whirlwind of applause, congratulations, and recognition had begun to settle, leaving her with a quiet sense of accomplishment. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she felt stronger, more confident, and more determined than ever. The lessons she had learned from facing criticism and proving herself had become an integral part of who she was. She continued to practice every day, but now her approach had changed. It was no longer just about proving others wrong. It was about perfecting her craft, expressing herself fully, and connecting with her audience in a meaningful way. She explored new songs, experimented with different styles, and learned to interpret music with a deeper emotional understanding. Each practice session was an opportunity to refine not only her technical skill but also her ability to convey feeling and story through her performance. Her mentor remained a steady presence in her life, offering guidance and support. He encouraged her to step outside her comfort zone, to challenge herself with complex pieces, and to seek opportunities that would push her growth even further. He reminded her that true artists never stop learning and that the journey of improvement never truly ends. She embraced this mindset, understanding that every performance, every rehearsal, and every challenge was part of a lifelong journey of growth. As word of her performances spread, more opportunities began to appear. She was invited to perform at community events, school functions, and charity gatherings. Each event was different, with unique audiences and expectations, but she approached each one with the same dedication and passion. She learned to adjust her performances for different settings, to read her audience, and to convey emotion in ways that resonated deeply with those listening. Each successful performance reinforced her belief in herself and her abilities. Her success began to influence the people around her in meaningful ways. Younger students who had once been intimidated by the thought of performing started to look up to her as an example. Teachers began encouraging students to pursue their passions, sharing her story as a reminder that dedication and hard work could overcome doubt and criticism. Even her classmates who had once laughed or whispered now treated her with respect, sometimes seeking her advice or support in their own creative endeavors. She realized that her journey had ripple effects, inspiring others to pursue their dreams with courage. Despite the growing recognition, she remained grounded. She knew that success was not about fame or praise, but about staying true to her passion and continuing to grow. She set new goals for herself, aiming to perform in larger venues, collaborate with other musicians, and explore more challenging pieces. Each new goal was a step forward, a chance to push her limits and continue proving to herself what she was capable of. She also took time to reflect on the criticism she had faced in the past. Instead of letting it hurt her, she now saw it as a catalyst that had driven her to improve. The doubts and judgments that once seemed painful had ultimately helped her develop resilience, focus, and determination. She understood that criticism was often a reflection of others' perspectives, not a measure of her worth or ability. This insight gave her a sense of peace and allowed her to approach future challenges with confidence rather than fear. Her family remained an important source of support. They celebrated her achievements, encouraged her during moments of self-doubt, and reminded her of the joy she found in music. Their belief in her, combined with her own dedication, created a foundation that allowed her to continue pursuing her dreams without fear of failure. She cherished their encouragement and knew that it had played a vital role in her journey. As she continued to perform, she encountered moments of challenge and pressure. Large audiences, demanding schedules, and high expectations sometimes caused stress and doubt to resurface. But she had learned to manage these feelings, using the techniques she had developed over the years, focusing on her preparation, remembering her practice, and letting the music guide her. She understood that fear and doubt were natural parts of growth, and she embraced them as opportunities to strengthen her resilience. Over time, she began to mentor younger performers herself, sharing the lessons she had learned and helping them navigate their own challenges. She emphasized the importance of persistence, self-belief, and the value of hard work. She encouraged them to embrace criticism as a tool for growth rather than a roadblock, sharing her own experiences of doubt, perseverance, and eventual triumph. Mentoring others brought her a new sense of fulfillment, as she realized that her journey could inspire and empower those who followed. She also learned to appreciate the small moments, the quiet joys that came with her passion. The feeling of singing alone in her room, experimenting with new melodies, and discovering the nuances of a song became as meaningful as performing for a large audience. She understood that her love for music was not contingent on recognition or applause, but on the personal connection she had with her craft. This realization allowed her to maintain balance and joy in her pursuit, even amidst busy schedules and high expectations. Her experiences taught her an important lesson about people. Judgment is often hasty, and talent is not always immediately recognized. She had been criticized, doubted, and underestimated, but she had proven through her dedication and performance that perception is not always reality. She carried this understanding into other areas of life, approaching challenges and relationships with empathy, patience, and an awareness that everyone's abilities and potential may not be immediately visible. Years passed, and she continued to perform, grow, and inspire. Her journey was marked by achievements, challenges, and moments of doubt, but each step reinforced her commitment to her passion and her belief in herself. She recognized that her journey was ongoing, and that every performance, practice session, and challenge was a chance to learn and evolve. She embraced the idea that success was not a destination, but a continuous process of growth, effort, and self-expression. Looking back, she realized how far she had come. From a young performer facing criticism and doubt, she had grown into a confident, skilled, and inspiring artist. Her perseverance had transformed not only her own life but also the lives of those around her. She had proven that dedication, courage, and self-belief could overcome skepticism and challenges, and she carried this lesson with her in every step she took. She had learned that moments of doubt and criticism were not barriers, but opportunities to grow stronger. She had learned that success was not about winning approval, but about remaining true to oneself. And she had learned that one performance, one moment of courage, could change perceptions, inspire others, and reveal the strength within. These lessons became the foundation of her journey, guiding her through every performance, challenge, and new opportunity. In the end, she understood that her story was not just about music or recognition. It was about resilience, self-belief, and the courage to pursue a dream in the face of doubt. She had faced criticism, overcome obstacles, and found her voice, both literally and metaphorically. And as she looked toward the future, she carried with her the certainty that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had the strength, talent, and determination to face them with grace, passion, and unwavering confidence.